Okay, let's make a start. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to IIBA UK's Book Club series. Tonight, we're delighted to be exploring a really new book, one that's sort of only been released in recent months this year. It's the Evolving Analyst, Adaptability, Impact, and Growth, with the book's co-authors Emal Bariali and Marcus Udokang. It's great to have you with us.
Great to
Right.
be.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
oh,
having
it's
us. Yeah.
pleasure to have you. Yeah, before we dive straight in, I suppose for those who are joining us for the first time, just wanted to provide a bit of a who are we as a UK IBA UK chapter. So it for those who likes things in numbers, we've got some stats here. So IBA UK is a professional home for business analysts across the country in the UK. With sort of IBA Global, we affiliate at the UK level, and we're a volunteer-run chapter, sort of led by practicing BAs who care deeply about strengthening our community and supporting, that the next generation of analysts. So we have sort of 1,400 strong IBA UK members affiliated with this chapter, and we have branches across the country, so which includes Scotland and North, South West and Wales, Midlands and London. And within our UK community, we also have quite close ties with some well-known organisations. So we do have quite a high proportion of the chapter who are corporate members. I mentioned that this chapter was run by our very passionate volunteers, and we have a strong team of volunteers in the background who also helps run events, but also run a lot of the things behind the scenes, like websites, marketing, etc. And I suppose, in terms of the overall summary of what this chapter offers, we support and are partners with the conference providers like IRM. We're actually the co-founders of the Business Analysis Conference Europe that happens every September, but also associates of BA Life, which is actually happening next week as well. It's Wednesday, I believe. So
I'll see you all on BA Live if you decide to make it there, because I'm one of the
there we
speakers
go.
there as well. So hope to see
There we
some of you
go.
folks there. Yeah.
Yes. So we're quite a tight-knit community. Speakers that tends to sort of grace our screens. Our frequent, our friends of BA Life. We're all friends here. And we are also partners of BA Excellence Conference, which I believe it's online or hybrid. Yeah, so it's happening in May. And we also have virtual offerings as well, webinars like this one, book club. We also have sort of mentoring program that has just closed, but we run one every year. We have community events, sort of in-person events like workshops, socials, and if you're a volunteer, you may also benefit from having sort of the volunteer exclusive events in various regions. Corporate partnership as well, we help on a chapter level, although managed by Global, but we also have some close ties with corporate members, and we do hold quite a few talks. We also had our kind of first virtual roundtable with our corporate members just last month, actually. So and it helps to raise the profile of the organization, help your BAs sort of develop those great connections with the wider community, nationally and globally. Support your BAs, if you're a BA leader, to develop skills and knowledge using the resources available to them. And quickly, speaking of the resources available to IBA members, there are tons of BA resources. There are digital libraries of over 10,000 books, probably more. They're always adding to it. There's competency assessments and development tools. There's the Babok Guide and Knowledge Hub that is your kind of, the go-to guide for business analysis professionals, and a treasure trove of IIBA webinar archives for you on demand. There's also discounts, certification exam fees, as well as conference tickets like the BBC, Building Business Capability, the IRN conference I mentioned in the previous slide, and we're adding more. We've also partnered up on a chapter level with endorsed education providers, so we're going to kind of release more information in coming weeks. And yes, even more networking community, as if that's not enough. There are opens up a global network of all the chapters. If you remember, there are member exclusive events. There are volunteer opportunities to contribute, and you can get access to a career center portal and job boards for BA roles. And you get snazzy things like digital members and certification badges as well. So it's worth checking out. And the link's on the top right of the screen. Yeah, just a quick one here. Just that we are active on social media. So if you'd like to know what's coming up, like to connect with us, please do so. You're quick enough, you can get hold of the QR codes here, but we're quite easy to find, IIBA UK, across Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So today's session, for example, we expect that to be uploaded on YouTube after today. And right, so just going to do some quick introduction to the main event. So this is the BA Book Club series. And please, if you have any questions today, please use the Q&A function or the comments section. We'll monitor both. And just a quick intro on my side. I'm Christina Tam. I'm the chapter leader of IIBA UK. Adriana, I'd like to say a few words.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adriana Silva. I'm the community director with London and Southeast, and I've been supporting the book club, which is, one of my, it's really hard to say, but one of my favorite initiatives in IIBA UK. So thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight, or today. It's bright sun over here. Back to Christina.
Hey, thank you. Real pleasure to have Emal and Marcus with us, the co-authors, and I believe you're also colleagues at BA Vlogs. Am I right in saying that?
That's correct. Yeah. We are both business analysts. We are both business analyst teachers, and we co-authored the book. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yes. Perfect. And with that, well, I suppose let's kick off the session. I'm going to start sharing. There's nothing else to share at this point, and I'd like to open up with just a question that I ask frequently in all book club series for all authors. So I suppose, what's the motivation behind the book? I really like the fact that it's a series of short stories, and in other kind of in other genres, if you're a bookworm, you probably find that there are books of short stories. I'm a big fan of that, generally speaking. But what was the idea behind it? I'd love to know a bit more about it.
I can.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Marcus. Yeah.
I think it's something that was much needed, or is much needed, certainly in the BA ecosystem. It's a collection, an assortment of BA ideas from around the world. We've got 19 countries that have contributed to the book. They're spread over 6 continents, and there are 45 stories by, believe it or not, 47 authors. So 2 of those stories, there are 2 authors each that have written 2 stories. But I think it grabs ideas, it's sort of a global perspective, and this anthology of ideas coming together to tell stories about the challenges, the triumphs of practicing business analysis around the world. So that's the main theme and makeup of the book. And I think the book is sort of designed to engage both new and experienced business analysts. It certainly was a passion project. And that's it. I think that's a good summary. That's from my perspective. Emal?
Yeah, and the reason why, just to add, I would say, why a collection of short stories? Marcus, being an English major, is a huge influence on that. first of all, but even beyond that, what we find through teaching folks is that the standard way of teaching business analysis doesn't really work very well, which is essentially, hey, let's just pull up the BA book and just walk through concept by concept, right? And I think that many new entrants into our profession make the mistake of kind of treating the BA book as more of a teaching guide than a reference library. And what we decided to do is to kind of take a narrative-based approach to kind of learning and development. And we wanted to get people who have real experience coming in, telling their own stories of the situation in a way that blends in a lot of the concepts that are in the BA book to kind of help bring those concepts alive, essentially. And so this narrative-based storytelling, I think, is a really great way to pass knowledge on to the next generation of analysts.
Yeah, brilliant. That's really great to hear. And I believe that the book has around 45 short stories. Is that number like there or thereabouts? Yeah. So I think needless to say, there probably will be too many stories to share over the course of 60 minutes, but across the 45 stories you sort of collected in this book, which one has sort of challenged your assumptions about what a BA is or does? Is there any that sort of push the envelopes in your opinion?
I certainly have one now, not to say, it's not a favorite article or anything like that, because it is, if you were to ask me, hey, what is my favorite article? I would not be able to answer that question because there are so many good ones in there.
Absolutely.
But Yulia Kosarenko's contribution really jumped out at me. And I think part of the reason for that is because both Yulia and I are at a very similar stage of our BA careers, and maybe that's the one that really kind of stuck out to me. But in her article, she talks a lot about how analysis bridges into architecture. So how business analysis bridges into business architecture. And just throughout my own career, since having started doing business analysis in 2005, I've always been looking for an area of analysis that helps me kind of grow a little bit more. And I think her article does a great job. Her contribution does a great job of introducing business analysts to the world of architecture a little bit, because she explains how analysis connects to architecture. So for any analysts out there who may be feeling stuck in their jobs and they're thinking to themselves, maybe I'm an analyst, I would like to, move into a different income bracket, let's say, for example, but I don't want to become a project manager. I don't want to become a department manager. What do I do? Well, business architecture is really the tried and true path for analysts who want to remain individual contributors, but they want to work on solving higher level challenges, more impactful challenges, is to kind of move up into architecture. So if I had to pick one, that one really just kind of jumped out at me because I think Julia and I are kind of at the same level of our careers as business analysts, and so I would go with that one.
Fantastic. Many of the stories jump out to me. I will probably talk about just one at the moment. I certainly do like Mark Bruins's story. It's called Navigating Transformation as a Digital Change Leader. It's in the digital transformation section of the book. And I think because he's a very good storyteller, he focuses on what I call structured narrative framing. And he likes to put things into context. So he starts off with defining the current reality. He goes into this tension, why is this change necessary? Then he shifts into what we might call leadership framing, reframing the role of the BA so it can cater to leadership. He's all about action, presenting this clear path forward. And then he ends with measurable impact. What is the future state? And I think that's why I like Mark Bruins's particular story. And just to give you context, he's talking about implementing a queue management system for a government service, and he's trying to replace this inefficient manual process with a digital solution. And so there was this lack of visibility into service demand. There was poor customer experience in government offices. And this project that he was in, helped to improve customer experience. It helped to improve the staff workflow. And I think that his story highlights the importance of empathy, listening to your stakeholders. It shows the importance of stakeholder alignment. It shows the importance of change management and how he tries to successfully navigate digital transformation initiatives. The result, what did he get in the end? Well, he got smoother operations implemented. He helped to enhance customer satisfaction. But when we look at Mark, he is this type of analyst with 42 years of experience. He's got a number of certifications under his belt. And so you can see, and he's worked in a number of different countries around the world. So he's got this really global perspective of how business analysis works. And he is all about not just what is changing, but why. Why and what happens if we do nothing. So he's got this structured storytelling. He makes risks and trade-offs very visible. He's directly supporting transformation leadership. And I think along the way, he's equipping BAs with sort of this repeatable framework that they can apply to elicitation, to backlog prioritization, and even how do you recommend these ideas, these changes to executives. So I think that story, Mark Bruns' story, certainly stands out to me that way.
And may I ask something? If you mentioned the structure with a specific thing within the book, could you talk us about how the book is structured and how did you get to group the stories? How is that?
All right. Well, let me just share my screen if I can. I'm just going to give you an idea of what it looks like. All right. So we've got this intro. This is what the book looks like. The front and back cover as well as the spine. And these are all the authors listed at the back of the book, all the contributing authors, all 45 of them. And let me just stop sharing at the moment. So we've got 6 chapters in the book, right? And each of those chapters cover themes. So we've got requirements elicitation, we've got data analysis, we've got digital transformation, we've got, I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head here.
Career growth and strategy. We got AI. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Okay, so and those are the main themes basically. So that's how the book is divided.
And on a practical way of collaboration, think that you are 2 authors contributing to the creation of this book. How did you work together? Did you split? I would have thought interviews or conversations with among yourselves. Did you work together? How was that collaboration among you and Emal and Marcus?
I said to Emal, what do we need for a title? So the title came from Emal to start off with. So if it wasn't for the title, we wouldn't have had a book.
I would say, yeah, and I would say that Marcus has been the primary driver behind actually making sure that the book gets out on time and in a reasonable amount of time. But the collaboration essentially is just that Marcus and I are, as I said earlier, we're kind of both in the education space, and so when we tried to kind of get into the minds of analysts who are trying to enter the profession. We got together and said, what is it that they need to know about what this profession could potentially look like in the next 5 to 10 years? Where's the profession essentially going? And we kind of reached out to our authors to say that, based on your experience of having seen this profession evolve over the last decades, 2 decades, some of our authors have three decades of experience at this point. Based on that, I said, can you give us the best advice that you would give to the next generation of analysts? And Marcus and I essentially just worked together to kind of come up with the themes. But I'll tell you, if I have to be honest, if it was left to me, this book would be nowhere near being published right now. So I have to thank Marcus for making sure that he drives through to get this knowledge out there.
So Marcus is the delivery manager.
Marcus is he's the big boss. He's the big boss, and he's the big boss, and he essentially drove the delivery deadlines. So yes, the delivery manager, but I think he's much, much more than that when it comes to the content of the book.
Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth. I'd say, Mal, for example, this idea kind of got conceptualized about a year and a half before the book came out. And I said, Emal, I've got this great idea. What do you think? Okay, great. And a month went by, nothing really transpired. 8 months later, got back at it again, and we were able to get a few articles from people, and it went under the bridge. And a few months later, I said, this thing has to get done. We've got to focus on this thing. So, 6 months later, the book got published. So there was a lot of hums and haws, and bringing it to fruition, I think, was the toughest part. But once you like anything, once you're on that roller coaster and you go up a bit, then you just the momentum just keeps going and going and going, and then you've got something tangible and printable, right, and publishable.
You know what I would say? Adriana, is that I've done 20 plus digital transformations now throughout my career. I would say this is among one of the most difficult ones to coordinate.
Wow. Is it due to the number of collaborators involved? Is that what
Yeah.
I would have
There's a lot of
thought?
coordination involved, and there's, our contributors are experienced professionals, and so we kind of have to make sure we respect their time as well. And so there's a lot of those types of challenges kind of pop up, and but like I said, without Marcus, the book wouldn't exist. So thank you. I'm going to thank Marcus again here live
Thank you.
for
Well,
helping us get it out.
there has to be some back and forth, certainly. And I'll say, just to parallel Emel's point, all the people who contributed, all the authors, yes, they are all working professionals. So you're working with different time zones. So you've got to coordinate completion times based on time zones that people can produce products, produce artifacts within. Everyone has different schedules. And some people have higher priority items, maybe at work, certainly juggling family. So I think it's a different type of expectation when you come to deliver a collaboration like this. It's almost like people volunteering with IIBA, right? It's a volunteer. They're not getting paid for it. It's out of their heart. So I think that I want to thank Emal, and I would like to thank, obviously, the 47 authors that made a contribution, but not just the authors. You'll see when you open up the book, the first 4 or 5 pages, you have book reviews by people too. So, obviously there had to be coordination between people to read sections of the book and to be able to write about it. So when you really think about it, maybe there's about 57, almost 60 people involved in this project.
Wow.
It might be, sorry, it
Oh,
might appear a bit
yeah.
obvious. How did you come to, let's put this way, to select your 45 business analyst cohort, the 45 participants? How was this? How did you go about that task? If you have to describe step by step.
Step by
For
step.
the reviewers, you mean, or for the
For the
authors?
participants, the ones who collaborated with the stories.
Okay. Yeah.
How did you recruit them? Let's put this way. That's what I'm trying to find out. Sorry, Christian, if I cut you off in this question. Yeah.
No worries.
Well, I'd say coordinating with them via LinkedIn messaging, via emails, and sometimes you start with a list and you say we want these people, and some of those people said no for various reasons, and so you have to go back to your drawing list and say let's add 10 more people. The way the book started out, there was this idea of 25 people, and 25 articles were submitted, and we realized the book was too small. So we had to start adding more people, and over time realized, oops, now the book is too big. So you have to, we didn't have to take anyone out. Everyone that contributed an article all those articles got printed, and published, included in the book, which was good. And so it's a lot of trial and error, reaching out to the person. Do they say yes? Handing them the requirements for the book and hoping, giving them a 3-week, 4-week deadline, for example, following up on that deadline. And some people couldn't. Some people midway through said, I can't, something's come up, I can't contribute. So there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of hustling, a lot of stakeholder engagement, stakeholder management involved, I would say.
Yeah, and I would say that the actual building up the actual authors list is a bit of a challenge in itself because there are a lot of authors, quote unquote, out there, but it's difficult to find practitioners who are interested in writing. And so that in itself can be a major challenge because it's if you want people to write, it's easier to find people to write, but if you want experts to share their knowledge, that's a bit of a different type of a challenge for a book like this that is trying to essentially capture as much experience and knowledge as possible from people who are not necessarily writers, right? Their day job isn't necessarily to write or to teach or to sell. They're busy doing their jobs. And so I think that that's an added extra layer of challenge to that's just gets layered on top of the number of people that we chose to publish.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I want to add too that everyone's got different writing styles.
Mhm.
Different parts of the world have different spelling, even though it's English. So some use, S when you spell organize, some use Z or Z as the Americans call it. Different people pronounce words differently. The ideas, the concepts come to them in different ways. So how do you get a uniform structure in a book where all the font is the same, all the headings are the same? If someone is making a quote, and the quote is from them, the author, do you italicize that quote? If the quote is coming from someone apart from the author, do you italicize that quote or not? So all of this formatting had to be done by the editor to make sure that the spelling was consistent, to make sure that all terms were defined. So if you decide to start the book from the middle, you don't have to start it in a chronological order. What if there's a term or a word that you don't understand? It has to be footnoted to be able to be explained. So each chapter sometimes will define the word in a footnote or define the acronym in the footnote, and you'll see that definition again in another story. So the editor had to be fully involved in making sure that that degree of uniformity was from the beginning to the end of the book. So.
I have just loads of questions while you talk. Sorry, Christiana, do you have any questions now, or can I pop one?
Go ahead if it's one of the behind the scenes sort of question, then go ahead. Otherwise,
Yes, no, it's something very interesting that Emal mentioned that the practitioners, we are used to doing our work, but we don't necessarily write or we don't publicize or share our stories in writing. So that might have been the first experience for some of the people in your cohort, let's put this way, of contributors. What is their feedback? What did they find after they have created this story and contributed to this book? Do you have any feedback, any views? What did they take? What did they learn? What did they gain from sharing that story with the book via this book?
Well, some of the authors, oh yeah, sorry, some of the authors I spoke to are happy. They're so thankful that some of the folks that have written in the book, they never thought about actually publishing. And so just the exercise of going back and reflecting on their own careers and thinking to themselves, trying to put themselves inside the mind of a new business analyst. I think that was a really great exercise for many of the authors themselves because they're not used to reflecting on their careers, right? Many of them are, if you have 10, 15 years of experience, you're probably not thinking too much about what you did in year 2 of your career, right? And so personally, the feedback that I heard from some of the authors was that they really enjoyed the exercise of just taking an opportunity out of their life and their work life to reflect on their own careers to think, how would I guide an analyst who is just getting into the profession? So I think overall, it's an overall positive experience that many of the authors had, and I'm hoping maybe we can get them to do a little bit more reflecting for version 2 of the book, to see if they have any more knowledge to share, perhaps.
I was exactly thinking that probably that you get the number 2, the volume 2 of this book.
Oh, we're really seriously thinking about it, and we have a couple of other initiatives that we're trying to that we're launching that would necessitate not the book is good, but some folks don't like reading books, or they'd rather read things digitally. And so Marcus and I have looked at bringing more experts to the forefront in a digital way, perhaps through an experts network where they can publish for free, and our audience can just come and read all of that material for free without having to go through the motions of purchasing a book. So we have a lot of things in motion, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was going to just add to that as well. When it comes to the authors making contributions, sometimes there is a lot of back and forth. For example, an author might provide a draft 1, have a number of questions, and go back and provide a draft 2. And I want to give an example for Richard Audette. So he's one of the authors. The title of his book is The Joy of Shipping. It's in the product analysis section. And Richard really likes writing. He really likes storytelling. He's got a blog of his own. And in this particular story, he said, Marcus, I'm not too sure. Do you think I can write about shipping? Would anyone be interested in shipping a product? And I said, well, give me an idea. So he sent the article to me, and I looked at it, and I said, yeah, this is wonderful. And he said, well, this idea came to me because I have an aunt who worked for Microsoft, and she got this award for shipping in Microsoft. I said, well, do you have a picture of this? He said, yeah, I have a picture of the award. We've got to put it in the book. And he said, well, I don't know if you should. I'm going to redact the name and all that. I said, well, go ahead, redact all the stuff. But this is a beautiful example. You've learned from a family member. So sure enough, he included the picture of this award that his aunt received, and it's in the book. And he explains the importance of shipping for customers in an organization. So this was just some of the feedback that was received from one of the authors.
So are you sharing your screen, Marcus?
You know what? I don't have. Let me quite quickly open up. I can actually.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were sharing your screen. I was just going to let you know that it wasn't on the screen.
No, I wasn't sharing the screen. But I think what I can do is, now that you mention it, let me see. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to share my screen because I'm just going to show this. I will share this screen. I intended to. So there is Richard Audette's story, and there's the picture of the Microsoft Ship It Award that his aunt, he says, my aunt's home office had it. So I thought it was an interesting story about the importance of shipping and why, what role the business analyst plays in shipping. So I thought that was kind of cool. So anyway, there you go. It's a good example of one of the stories and what the author thought of the story.
Oh, yeah, thank you. That sounds super interesting. Yeah, I'll need to check out the section and then yeah, sort of dig a bit deeper myself. But we talked a lot about sort of behind the scenes so far. So thank you. Lots of food for thought for aspiring authors out there who might be tuning in or watching the recording. But I'd like to sort of see you back to, I guess, cut to the core really of this well, as the title states, evolving analyst, that evolving role. So from your vantage point, what is evolving fastest in our profession? Having heard from so many sort of authors who contribute to the book, and perhaps some others too in other areas, is it the work itself that's evolving fastest, or the expectations placed on BAs, or the skills required to stay relevant? What are your thoughts on that?
I have quite a few thoughts. I just finished a consulting engagement a couple of months ago, and so I had the opportunity to kind of see a lot of this in practice in recent times in the age of AI. And I would say that, the biggest shift is obviously with corporations and with institutions trying to leverage AI as best as they possibly can. Where we're at right now is in a bit of a transition period because we're all trying to discover how to leverage this technology to the best of its capabilities. Many corporations are doing the same thing. And our role is heavily affected by this because there are certain tasks that you'll find in the BA BOC that you can almost really just automate through AI. But then there are certain other characteristics, certain other things that you really need to double down on because AI is not going to be capable of doing those things. So I would say that that's kind of like the nature of the evolution. Very, very specifically, what I see on the ground through my own analysis work is that a lot of what I like to refer to as the grunt work, quote unquote grunt work, which is the work that requires a lot of documentation oftentimes, but it is any single piece of that work is relatively low value, meaning that you may have to write a specification that describes how a screen is going to work when somebody clicks a button. That type of documentation work that used to happen on many of our projects, a lot of that AI is very good at automating a lot of that, and it understands how to define the specifications for software products. What it isn't as good at is in managing, I would say, the human dynamics and the power dynamics that exist within enterprise environments, because those types of environments are not there. Many new entrants who enter these environments expect one thing, but they get something else because the logic of enterprise, the culture of enterprise is very different than they may be used to, maybe if they were in school or if they work for a smaller company or for a startup. They need to kind of double down and understand how to get things done within an enterprise because AI is not going to be able to help you for that. And a lot of your analysis, detailed specification skills that you used to have are probably going to get automated in the next couple of years. But your ability to be in the room with the stakeholder and really just kind of understand why sense out just from their facial expression sometimes. Sometimes just the way that they respond to a question can hint at you as to what is going on. And those types of impediments AI can't solve. So I would say that that's probably one of the biggest shifts that I'm seeing with AI is that it's kind of displacing a lot of analysts who do only specification related work, really kind of writing detailed specs, and it is empowering people who understand how to get things done in enterprise environments.
Yeah, no, it's quite true. I was going to add to that. I was on a contract not too long ago, a few months ago, and even though there weren't a lot of BAs, mostly PMs and developers, you could see how AI was being used to write requirements, to write specifications so quickly. And we just would be in a meeting with the client. That meeting would be recorded, and you'd be able to shove all these recording transcripts into AI and say, well, write up these specs. I mean, it wasn't that quick. They had a number of prompts that they would use, but it gave me certainly the idea that where does the BA fit in all this, right? So maybe the BA should be spending more time on the strategic side, working with executives, for example. Maybe in the case of Emal, he does business case development. So maybe that's somewhere where BAs can focus, and AI won't have such a large influence. But anyway, that's another perspective.
That's great. Yeah, so you can see kind of notable differences of how that BA role is evolving, and yeah, and also I suppose with teams of moving more towards kind of a product-centric model, and there's even talks of product operating models, and even like before AI has really taken off at the speed it has now. That's things have really sort of changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. If I could just add with what you just mentioned about the product-oriented models, right?
Yeah.
And this is why I like Yulia's contribution to the book so much, is that shift is happening, and the more that shift happens, the stronger the need for architecture becomes. Because if you think about it this way, right? When you look inside an enterprise, they don't have just one product. I mean, the last company I worked for, I had an inventory of, I think, 1,500 applications in that company. Okay, so think about 1,500 products being managed internally just to keep the corporation functioning. Okay. Now, if you take a product-centric view of that world, you're focused on the product. Who's worried about how this architecture kind of works as a whole? How does one product connect to another product? And that's why, like I said, Julia's article about architecture is going to become even more important, because if you can write a product specification really quickly and you can build, right, you can build software products really quickly using AI, you need somebody to start to manage, to make sure that the individual cells, individual applications, they all work as a cohesive unit to support the business, right? And so I just want to kind of throw that in there for the folks who are wondering why we're talking about architecture in analyst world here.
And it's interesting. You have mentioned, for example, I remember Marcus mentioning earlier, I think, that the care of introducing definitions in footnotes in the book but it's I think it looks like the book it's not directed only to new entrants to the profession. I believe from what you the way you depict, you showcase the role of the business analyst in 4 to 5 different contexts, let's put this way. It becomes a very rich resource for even seasoned practitioners if we would like to know what is out. Perhaps we haven't had the time or the capacity to look at how the profession, the role is evolving out there, and we can see where the directions are being taken and what else is there for analysts. If you think in terms of the groups, let's put this way, of potential readers of your book, could you tell us, for example, what do you think would be of interest? What would be of huge benefit for new entrants to the career when people already seasoned, experienced business analysts? What would be the key takeaways?
I would say the career growth and strategy chapter of the book is probably the best place for new entrants to focus, because when you're entering into the profession, our profession is a little bit different than a lot of other professions that exist out there. Even before AI, our profession is very fragmented. So the BA role in one company can look significantly different than the BA role in another company. And that is only going to magnify. With AI, there's a chance that the BA roles start to look very, very different in different organizations. And I think that the career strategy section of the book really kind of provides some guidelines for how analysts can navigate that, and to help themselves build a great career in this ever increasingly complex environment that they have to operate in. It's difficult enough to begin with. Right now, if you go look at one job posting versus another one, you wonder to yourself, why is this one asking for so many different skills that don't exist on this one, and vice versa, right? And so which skills am I supposed to learn right now? And each skill takes time to learn, right? That navigating that, I think, is a major challenge that new entrants into our profession are going to face. So I would recommend that new entrants start at that chapter.
Yeah.
What about the seasoned readers? Sorry, Marcus. Yeah.
Actually, both. I think both seasoned and early career analysts. I think what they can take away from the book is the fact that the BA, modern BA, is not just a problem solver. We have to be strategists. We have to be storytellers. We have to be change leaders. And we're operating in different contexts, people, data, technology. Maybe if I can share my screen, I can just give you an example of. So these are just this is just photos of 5 of the authors. So we've got Mark Bruins, Sarah Bagheri, James Dean, Gaurav Kathuria, Orlando. Orlando's out of Colombia, Gaurav's out of Australia, James Dean's out of Ireland, Sahar is out of Germany, originally from Iran, and Mark Bruins is out of South Africa, though he's worked in the UK as well. And the reason why I bring all of these folks up is because they stand out telling they give storytelling in a slightly different way. So you've got, for those advanced BAs, even for the beginners, they can look at these stories and they can relate to them. These are people who have had experience on boots on the ground. They've got the wounds to prove it, the scars to prove it. And so I think it's easy for someone who is a beginner to look at these stories and they can relate. I think it's someone who is experienced who can read those stories and also relate. So I think it caters to both experienced BAs in that way and beginners. Second of all, when you look at, let's just use James Dean's story as an example. He really talks about context, focusing on context, how you can use prototyping to illustrate, and what the implications, what the value is to an organization. So it's with this simple style of using prototyping to tell a story. He shows how you can get your point across. Again, beginners and advanced BAs can relate to this very easily. And I just want to give you an example of what prototypes look like. So this prototype here on the far right, on the last contract that I was on, we would use AI, Gemini, Google Gemini, to help us build out these screenshots. Now, these are not the exact screenshots we used. We used something similar. But when we were building out prototypes for an app, it was an automobile app, we had to be able to take those conversations that we had with our clients, put them into AI, give AI the idea, this is the prototype that we want to build. This is what we have so far. Can you give us an idea of how we can enhance this? So this was a combination of prototyping with AI and taking all of this to the client and basically saying, here's the problem, here's the visualization, here's the consequence. And this approach helped us mirror how decision makers process information through problem, through visualization, through consequence, all using storytelling to get our points across. What's the value to the organization? Well, leaders see not just what the system could look like, but what it means financially to the organization, what it means operationally, what it means strategically. And a story like James Dean's Power of Prototyping brings all that out for beginners and for advanced BAs in a very easy to understand way. So that's yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And just conscious of time, but I suppose in terms of closing reflections, I suppose if we could offer one piece of advice to analysts navigating sort of all these changes with emerging technology and how this profession is evolving, what would that be? I suppose it's, questions for both of you.
I would say that the big elephant in the room is AI, and what analysts need to do is they need to get an accurate picture of what it can and cannot do for us at this point and where that technology is going into the future. And the reason why that's so important is because there's a lot of misinformation out there about its capabilities. There is a lot of hype out there. If you listen to the CEOs of the AI companies, they'll tell you it can do anything and everything for you, and that is simply not true. And so I think as a professional, I think they have to perform the due diligence that they need to cut through the hype, to understand the technology properly, and to learn how to deploy it in their work in a real meaningful way. And I would say that that's probably the biggest the biggest thing to focus on at this point.
Yeah, just to add to that, I'd probably say analysts really now have to define value through outcomes. I think you should be able to focus on the customer impact, the speed, the measurable results, rather than just only deliverables. So that's probably one big message that I got from the book. And we're always acting as connectors, right? So keep that up, certainly. And that's a connector with technology, with driving that continuous value focused change. I think that's crucial.
It's interesting. This focus on the this clarity that we need to focus on the outcomes with the value we create. It's interesting how this message is coming from different directions, isn't it? In different from different writers, different authors, and practitioners in our community. So yes, it's been a constant message that we need to focus on the outcome. In terms of the AI, I think I quite like the idea of thinking beyond the hype. I mean, maybe having clarity of where we go from there. Um, Thinking in where we go from there, what are the next steps for you, Marcus and Emal, having created this book? Where does it take you next?
Well, Emal alluded to the fact that this idea of the experts network, sort of an online blog where it'd be a continuation of the Evolving Analyst. We have authors coming in to be able to express themselves just the way they did in the book, but not focused on any specific theme. Just write about ideas that you feel are important and that reflect where the BA is today, where the BA is going, where the BA is evolving for tomorrow. So,
And a few of the introductory articles are already up I can give you guys the URL if you're interested, but we haven't fully launched yet. So whatever we're putting out there right now is we're still pre-launch. Keep that in mind. So, but if you just go to learn.ba, learn.ba, that's essentially what the vision that we have for how we want to continue this conversation with the authors, and to have them continue to kind of bring other professionals into the fold, so that other professionals that they know that who have not published anything about their experiences, they can start to publish their experiences. We want to get real good advice out there. That's what we want to do. We don't want to market and to try to. We don't want to bring just authors on board who just want to publish. We want experts to share their knowledge, and so that's why we decided to call it the Experts Network. So that's kind of our next steps, I would say.
Thank you.
yeah, so I think there's currently 3 articles up there now.
Yeah, those are just our introductory articles, just to keep in mind. Sorry to
Yeah.
cut you off, Marcus, but those
No,
are
go
just,
ahead.
we want folks to introduce themselves and to kind of talk a little bit about their careers. And so Marcus and I have kind of taken the lead on that, and James Dean has made a contribution to that as well. But we're working with some of the other authors to get that up and running. It is pre-launch again. Keep that in mind, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pre-launch. And as for the book that has just been launched, where could we find the book for those interested?
Yeah, so let me share my screen. I can show you exactly where you can get that. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so can you see that? All right, where can you find the book? Here's the link, and I will put this link into the chat as well. But the number is the same. So when you see this number, no matter where you are, if it's Amazon.com or Amazon.ca, so just this part of Amazon will change, but the /DP and the /number, this number will stay exactly the same. So you can write that down, you can screenshot it, and I'll do a paste into the oops, pardon my hand there that I raised. I'll put that up into the chat right now as well.
Great, thank you.
And for the folks who are in the chat, could not find the reactions to interact with you in the chat there. I've been looking for little thumbs up emoji there to thumbs up many of the comments that I see in the chat, but I just haven't seen it. But I want you to know that I am reading the comments and I appreciate all the interaction in the chat there.
Yes, I suspect we have an upgrade or so. I found Zoom quite different today. I couldn't find some things in the same places we used to use before. Yeah, the reactions, they are one of them. The
That's the
emoticons.
world of software. That's the world of software, folks. I'm used to it. Yeah.
I put the links in the chat. I put the UK link, but also the Canadian link. But like I said, all you have to do is just change the ending of Amazon, so .com, Amazon.com, Amazon.za for South Africa, or I don't know what it's used for New Zealand, but from wherever you are in the world, just add after Amazon the dot for whatever your country initials are, and then /DP/ and then the numbers, which is 106-980-6609. And you should be able to get it. Any plans to publish on Audible? Bertina said, it was in the works. The thought came across. It's probably not this time. It's a lot of work involved in doing that, to hire someone to read it. There are automated versions on Google. You can have Google do a reading for you. It's obviously AI, and the quality is not as good. So that's the quick and easy way to do it. But you want to hire someone to be able to read it, and that costs money. So maybe another time for Audible.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, thanks, Adriana, for sharing the link. I think I'm having similar issues reacting to others, but I am also following the chat. I think so. Yeah, had someone mention something about the Northern Ireland, and so I suppose, yeah, Mark, if you've sort of answered the question, there's this Ireland, there's the UK, so feel free to reach out to either or both of us. That's fine. But we currently don't have presence in Northern Ireland, although we have been pondering. And if you're interested in helping us kickstart activity in the region, let's hear from you. Right, perfect. I think we're at time, which we are. Let's just right on time right now. But thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Demarcus and Mal. It's been a real pleasure, and yeah, I have sort of bought the book, and which hasn't actually arrived. So I've been away, but I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in now that I've heard all the stories behind it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Hi.
And I will just, before you go away, if I can just say, yeah, thank you. So there you go. There's the thank you for having us today. Appreciate it.
I'm going to give you a thumbs up in real life here, Marcus. I can't find the emoji either. Okay, take
There you
care,
go.
everybody.
Okay, take care.
Very much.
Everyone. Bye.